Here I am.
Hey, how are you, dude? Thank you so much for your patience and
Hey,
your diligence on this.
thank you, and thanks everyone who stuck around. I apologize for being late to this one. The first one wasn't my fault; it was technology. This one was my fault. I closed my eyes and I'm just gonna just conk out for 10 minutes, and I overslept. I was sleeping on sitting up. I'm trying to what's it called when you screen mirror image something?
The screen sharing?
Yeah, I'm gonna have this also on my television,
Ah, yes.
and then yeah, I'm not gonna have any issues with this one. Okay, so let's
Perfect.
do it. Where
Hello.
are we?
Well, let's see. I
Hi,
think I think the timely. I'm Jordan, by the way. Hello, Brian.
hi, Jordan. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you,
Do
dude.
welcome to my house,
I
or
love
one
it.
room of it. There's a big glare of light, but anyway, yeah.
Well, because you're a
Um,
ray of sunshine. That's why, probably.
well, it's also there's a giant door window. They can actually walk through that window.
Really? That's
Uh,
awesome.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go like this. Okay, so you guys
Nice.
can see, you
Okay.
can judge my house. All right, so let's do it.
Are you ready? Here we go. I think
Yeah,
in the
I'm ready.
spirit of the afternoon we've had together, I think we should talk about technical difficulties. Is there a big
Yeah.
Weezer technical difficulty that you had in your career that you overcame? Do you have a funny story of that that comes to mind?
It's, well, this one tops it. Technical difficulty. Almost wish there was a story like that where, I mean, we weren't a band that ever played with tracks.
Mhm.
And I was hoping we would have an Ashley Simpson moment. I have a story like that, if you remember that from
Oh,
SNL.
yes.
Um, but we've had with some of these later records where we have tons of things going on. Just we try experiment around, and um, I noticed when we were opening for Panic at the Disco that they had all these tracks going on, and they go, "Wow, they sound amazing." And I was looking around. I would go out to the crowd and just try to gauge how it sounded, and also gauge people's reaction to them playing with tracks. And I realized that people didn't care at all. And it was like, well, if people you can get away with, it just helps enhances the sound sometimes. Well, let's try that. So, you know, um, that being said, a lot of things have to sync up. Like somebody has to press play somewhere, and that can be when we're playing Africa and there's like 40 background vocals that are going on. It definitely is helpful to have that going. I don't know if I'm like everybody's like anybody hearing this is going, oh my god, they played tracks. Well,
It's modern music,
everyone,
though. You
it's
know?
modern music. Hate it or love it. So definitely that playing Africa with the tracks not going on has happened, and then it's like, oh shit, like I can't fall back on anything here. So, but it wasn't a train wreck. Because actually, nobody noticed, seemed to notice, and it just goes to show you that I think live music's really more about the camaraderie. It's the fans are 90% of the show anyway.
Mhm.
So I'm definitely missing not playing live.
Yeah, man. What's that like?
Tracks or no tracks. I'm missing missing Cassine,
Oh my
everybody's
goodness.
faces out there.
So the Hell Mega Tour, when it
Yeah.
happens, what can we expect from such a rousing set? Is it hard to create a set list after, what are we at? The third decade of Weezer greatness?
It isn't for Rivers anymore because he wrote a computer program that writes it a set list for him every night. But the thing is, for being in the band, it changes every night. There'll be specific, and now, and this isn't a new thing, by the way. Before we were using computers to do that, he was rolling multi-sided die that he had set of parameters for. So basically, it's the same concept except a little more efficient, I guess. And sometimes we don't get that set list, but maybe an hour before, and so that's exciting, and also a little bit nerve-wracking when some song we haven't played in 20 years gets thrown in there.
Hey, well, it
But
keeps you on your toes. It keeps you fresh, right?
keeps us on your toes, and that keeps things fresh and fun. But for the most part, it's always like we have to play Island in the Sun, Buddy Holly, Say It Ain't So, uh, Hash Pipe. These are usually Perfect Situation. Now it's going to be End of the Game, and it looks like Hero is taken off. So that once you add all those up, there's not much time for anything else.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Especially when we're going to do this Hella Mega Tour where we're the opening band.
It's going to be
Yeah.
phenomenal. It's going to be so sick.
Okay. It sucks because we did have a rehearsal production and the stage looked incredible. I was so excited. This was like right before the quarantine happened. We didn't know what to expect. We still thought we were going to Europe in June, and then we thought, okay, because when we're not going to Europe, but we're definitely doing the States in July. And then, how things have went, and now it's less to do about the coronavirus per se and more to do with scheduling and like all these venues like having to like mix around. Okay, this baseball team has to play in this day, like so many moving pieces were happening. No one knew the answer to anything, and they still really don't. So that's why it was best to say, let's just postpone it. We had the record finished. It's finished. It's been finished for a little bit. And, I knew we were going to postpone this release, but I was excited to hear when I got the email that we were going to make a video of Hero. And I liked the idea a lot. And it was actually he used to be an intern at the management office. It was his idea who came up with it. This guy named Jasper.
Wow.
And then it was a combination of Jasper and this director named Brendan who put it together. And honestly, when I first read the idea, I'm like, that sounds cool, except I don't think it's going to be entertaining. How can it be entertaining for 3.5, 4 minutes? And I'm just so happy with how entertaining it actually is.
Oh, it's phenomenal. The song sounds great. The video's super cool. The whole thing's incredibly topical for the time like this. You mentioned the production of the show and Hella Mega Tour. I saw you guys for the third time.
It almost feels like a lifetime ago when we had this rehearsal, and it was almost like a dream, to tell you the truth. I can barely remember what happened other than we played Hero for like, let's see how it would sound live, and it was like literally it was like the first 5 seconds it sounded like a hit.
Oh, it's gonna shred. It's awesome.
Yeah, and it was a bizarre night that night, but there's not much I can really remember about it being kind of this like awestruck by the design, which I wish I've been taking photos of. I thought,
Dang.
well, I'll take photos of it, and but I'm kind of glad it now. Now I'm not, gonna actually accidentally post something or somebody's gonna see it ahead of time because that would be bad, I guess.
Yeah, I was impressed by the costume changes and just the production of the show when we saw you at the state fair. So you're not willing to divulge any juicy deets from the stage plot or anything?
Well, if I could remember any of them, I would. It just, the fact is, like, honestly, it felt like a lifetime ago that rehearsal was, and it was only late February, early March. I don't even remember when it was. But it was late at night. Fall Out Boy we shared basically this giant airport hangar, and I think they filmed. It was out in the valley, and there was all these pictures of West Side Story, and I said, "Why is all these pictures of West Side Story?" And I guess they filmed the movie in this room,
Wow.
So it was like a movie, one of those movie lot, giant rooms.
Dang.
So it was wild.
Here's a fan question for you, Brian. We got a lot of great ones on social media. You can only keep one: Gibson Flying V, your standard Les Paul, or an Explorer. Which one are you keeping and why?
Well, I'd have to keep the most valuable one, which would be the Les Paul Standard. It's my newest acquisition. Decided, like, if I don't have a guitar like this, when will I ever? And the answer is it's either now or never, kind of. So I was like, why not have the guitar I've always wanted? And so we did this private show in I think New York, where we were flying across the country, and then our tour manager lives in Nashville, and I kind of talked him into like, well, we have to refuel anyway. How about let's stop in Nashville? I'll get off, and then we'll go guitar shopping because some of the best guitar stores are in Nashville, and that's exactly what we did. And um, I, I first I didn't get this guitar. I kind of waited till the new year. I kind of have to have excuses. I'm like, I'm gonna bring it on tour, and I don't care that it's a valuable guitar. And a lot of people, they don't play guitars like this. They just, what's the point of having a guitar if you don't play it? I played it on the record. It's one of those things that sounds great, just plugged straight in. No, didn't use any effects pedals at all.
What?
Yeah, it just came all through your hands, and um, yeah, it's just an incredible instrument. Now, like Explorer, um, it's such an iconic shape, and I love it as a stage guitar, and it's such a solid guitar and has such a history with me. I would be okay with, I think, if someone said, "Would you give that one up to like charity or whatever?" Hopefully for us one day, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Absolutely,
I
you know.
feel it. Do you
But I'll
think?
keep the Les Paul, and I'll keep the new Stratocaster. I mean, the vintage Stratocaster.
Oh, I just got a Strat a few months ago. My
Yeah.
goodness, it's just
And
it's
yeah, I've never
perfect.
in Weezer. We've never, and none of us had had a real Stratocaster, and we'd always like rent guitars. I remember even Rivers saying like, "Why don't we have a Stratocaster?" I'm like, "Great question." I mean, there's no good answer for that. He has like Strat copy shape, like a guitar that's shaped like a Strat, but it's not a Fender Strat. So uh, that was the first guitar in Nashville I got, was the uh, it's a 1958 Fender Stratocaster, maple neck, and it's just a fantastic, beautiful instrument. Like, it's super light and balanced, and that's what you realize with some of the tone. Not only is the tone better, but that just the craftsmanship. You just see it, you can feel it. It's like, I'd imagine a violin player in like it's a version of a Stradivarius. Something just felt.
Is everything okay? Are you all right?
Yeah,
Uh,
but that's me and guitars. I'm very passionate about guitars right now.
I love it. Okay, so
Yeah.
let's say there's a seventh grader in St. Paul watching. What would you recommend as a good solid beginner
Oh
guitar
well,
that you
yeah.
would recommend?
Seventh, I think your first guitar should not be expensive. I
Of
think you
course.
need to. That's why, like, I'm 51, so I feel like I've earned that right at this point of the game. But starting out, well, first of all, what's most important is the passion. It can be a pawn shop guitar, but my advice to anyone out there about guitars is keep your first guitar, no matter what, that you learned on, just for your own sake. I don't know many people that do keep their first guitar, because a lot of times you have to, you think you need something else, and you trade that guitar in to buy something like, is quote unquote better. But what you learn on first is very important. But mine was an Ibanez, which is a Japanese guitar. Roadstar 2 was the model name, and it was a budget guitar. But the most important thing was that I paid for it myself. I paid for it with lawn mowing money. I used to mow lawns for money, to make some money, and and I sold my video games to my cousin. So I was like, I'm no longer going to play video games. And it was an Atari 2600, and I accumulated the money to buy my own guitar. But I asked my mom, like, I'll get the guitar, but you guys have to get lessons. And she said, well, if you're serious about it, we'll get you lessons. I'm like, I'm serious about it, because I wanted to start playing at 13, but I didn't. I waited till I was 15.
How is this not a movie? That's like a script-esque
Well,
story.
that's, yeah. It probably wouldn't. It'd be like seeing the hero video. What do they call it? Treatment. You're like, how could this possibly work? Um, It's the opposite of that. It sounds better than it'll turn out.
Fair enough.
Um, yeah.
You
Okay.
you spoke of passion and the young musician. What do you think about the current generation of music creation? You know, an inspired band student or really anyone can download a professional program and get started. What's your take on that?
Well, uh, I mean, I think that's fantastic if you know how to do that stuff. I mean, I had a hard enough time. I couldn't do it. I couldn't even like log into Instagram Live or whatever that thing is. And so personally, I get frustrated with all the technology I mean, that's an instrument in its own right. The computer is an instrument, and it's fantastic for people that can do that. And I noticed younger generations like they can get inside and out computers so much better than I can. But as far as learning an instrument and learning music, I don't think that's changed that much. So hopefully, you know, they're not making compensations. We already have. I mean, you can listen to musicians from like the 60s and 70s when they were, you know, on Friday, the band leader was given a song to learn, and then Saturday they recorded live on air. And it required everyone to be able to sight read perfectly the first time, or you're not in this orchestra or band. Our musicianship has gone a different route, but you know, since then. So um, it's you know, it's a balancing thing. It's great that people can make great productions at home and stuff, but I think there might be some discrepancies in the other aspects of music making.
Yeah, learn your scales, learn your circle of fifths, all that.
Yeah, learn your scales, arpeggios. I mean, I still go over that stuff all the time.
What's your favorite scale to solo in? Which one is the Brian Bell specialty? Where are you most comfortable?
Scale, well, I mean, pentatonic, honestly, is the guitar rock and roll scale, and Weezer's not a band that like has tons of chords, and that's kind of the secret. Is like there's fewer chords, but a lot of times there's a lot going on. There's just a lot of sophistication that's going on behind the simplicity behind it. Like for instance, in Hero, for instance, you know, I recorded a couple different guitar things, and then also got the multi-tracks to see exactly what Rivers recorded, because there's no way that he can sing and play everything. And so I have to make you know, decisions on what lines, you know, as you're listening, what's the most apparent lines that are coming out, and like, okay, but bass can get that, so you have to like think when you have different lines, how do I hybrid this into one guitar part now that it's all done? At the time, you know, I'm trying different things out, and like, oh yeah, that line's over here, that line's over here, but really what you're hearing is this one unified sound. But the sophistication will come into like getting, basically it's counterpoint going on. The one thing, the two simple things happening simultaneously makes it complex, and then add a vocal line that you sing on top of that. That's three things right there.
Mm-hmm.
There's moments where it's four things. So you know, that's really where it's not really one key or anything. I'd like to say I can play in all keys, which is important, you know.
Yeah.
I have this 12-sided die that I just roll to have a random, and I call like one is C. I go by half steps instead of around the circle fifth sometimes with that, and like two would be C sharp or D flat.
Yep.
And just kind of like up. That's the key of the moment or the day of the hour that I'm going to sit down and work on stuff. It's good to switch up keys because your ear will start developing a little bit stronger. But really, pentatonic is a very interesting scale to me, and also triadic. Triads or three-note chords, or triadic arpeggios I really like too. And like a diminished arpeggio, you have to string skip to actually hit the right notes in order if you want to do that. Whereas when you put in seventh chords, it actually falls in a kind of it's easier than the fewer notes is more difficult, is what I'm trying to say. Okay.
I love
it.
But
this is all boring music stuff. Let's get on to some.
I love it, Brent. This is great. This is awesome. You've said in the past, though, kind of going off what you're saying, that you've always been drawn to like the secondary arts and the parts that fall between the cracks, like those
Well,
idiosyncrasies.
yeah, I think that's where my role in Weezer is anyway, and in the recordings, and um, you know, Rivers has these great songs with like great melodies and very the chords are simple. Like when I say simple, doesn't necessarily mean they're easy. They're not a whole lot of chords. It's not like a jazz song. It's changing keys all the time, but the chords move kind of sometimes in non-traditional ways. Um, so there are things, there are like, oh wow, what just happened there? Okay, on beat 4, it went up to a inversion of a 5 chord, like just things like that, and and I know the certain Weezery chordal voicings he likes to use, and then I can like go once I know he's doing, I can like go off on that and go, okay, well what this chord is missing is the top end of it, and a counter line or a counter rhythm or something like that. So it's a cool way to write, and this quarantine thing really hasn't changed our approach at all as far as making music, recording it, because that's kind of what we've been doing anyway. And as long as the producer is okay with having us over. Of course, we had 2 records in production, as I think I said, and we pretty much finished those before this quarantine started.
What's a favorite detail like that? That one of those little idiosyncrasies. What's your favorite Weezer detail or favorite small detail in a Weezer song that we may have missed that you're really proud of?
Jeez. Well, I am very proud of Hero. If you really listen closely, there's a line that's descending throughout the chorus, and then there's another line on top of that, and um, that were played by 2 different 2 different times, like one, and putting them together into one, where it sounds like it was played together, was very challenging. And it's still very catchy and simple. Geez, let me think about that one.
I'll
Well,
take the
Pinkerton
recency
is
bias.
all over the place. Like as far as like, there's so much going on there. That's actually more apparent. There is a lot of stuff. I think a song like "This Is Such a Pity" I'm really proud of. The kind of the fabric of the keyboard and guitar on Make Believe, but that kind of stuff approach goes in with practically every song. I think one of the first songs I think that I sort of brought my flavor to was a B-side after the Blue album called Devotion. I think it was before Pinkerton. Yeah. Where it's like, yeah, I have a voice in this band, and that my guitar stylings will work for.
As Weezer's been a band since the early '90s, since I was born, and you guys have survived and thrived in this new era, and things keep changing at a rapid pace. How has the album creation and rollout process evolved from the '90s to now?
Uh, there's a lot less money, it seems like, for that stuff. Although with us, we never got a big push ever. Even the first record, people probably think, oh, they probably were so, I don't know, but the record, Geffen must have put a lot of money behind him. Actually, they had no idea. They signed so many bands in that era. That's another thing. The money actually went into to like, well, let's sign every local band in town and just see which one works. And that's kind of what happened. And they, basically threw us against a wall and see what stuck. And we got lucky with some radio play, and then falling in line with Spike Jonze and his video ideas, and then having a fan base and a great foundation of a fan base, and the way music was back then. But now I'm very impressed with our new management team called Crush that we started with kind of after we recorded Ubate, which means everything will be all right in the end. Um, we switched management companies, kind of finished that out, and then I started noticing that they would release things. They didn't even almost care about a whole album anymore. They wanted us to do them, but they wanted to release singles here, single there, and everything was about timing. And I was apprehensive at first because it's a new thing, and is this going to work? But I think it actually got us to always be. You have to always be relevant now. You always like there were times in the early on we could take 3 years off. Um, and in fact we did, and I remember people saying you better like get out there or you're gonna people are gonna forget about you, and like I don't think so. Like of course we're like 20 something, like what we think we're gonna live forever, and I think now that we're older and realize, well, this isn't gonna go on forever. Let's do as much as we can now.
You guys have been doing a
And I
phenomenal job staying relevant recently, like with the video game, The Simpsons, the whole Africa thing. Well, speaking of, we had a listener question about this. Were you happy
Okay.
with your listener with your Simpsons rendition, the cartoon Brian Bell? Did you agree with their portrayal?
I mean, it's nothing to be unhappy about. I know that some people were like, you see these comments. There's always going to be people hating on things. It's so funny. Like, yeah, we're yellow, but have you seen The Simpsons? They're yellow. That's the color of their skin. And you have, it's not you. It's you as a Simpsons world. So, it was just such a surreal moment to be able to go into that studio and record our voice, and that was a lot of fun. We met the woman who's the voice of Bart, and also I think Homer was walking out of the studio. The voice of Homer was walking out of the studio as we were going in. Getting to be on 20th Century Fox's studio in Culver City was cool. I mean, and that kind of stuff is great. It's great to like tell your mom to tell her friends to watch, and it was on Mother's Day, so that was perfect.
That's so cool. Does it frustrate you as a musician when the cartoon like finger doesn't hit the right fret? Is that too granular to get
Well,
picky about?
I don't care about that at all. I mean that music was just so crazy. Recording all that fast stuff was fun. I believe I had to slow some of it down, recorded to like, like it's so fast you can't even hear it, but it sounds chaotic and awesome. And that's all Danny Elfman orchestration, I think, that I was reading off of.
In a continuation of pop culture staples and fan questions, on the set of Keep Fishing, Lindsay wants to know which Muppet was the biggest diva.
Well, that's a great question, Lindsay. Biggest diva, I guess, would have to be Miss Piggy, but I'll tell you who I was most starstruck by, and this is a true story, is Kermit the Frog. There was a behind the scenes B footage roll going on, and like, Brian, will you come sit in the chair? We're gonna do a little quick B-roll footage, and it was Kermit the Frog, and I literally froze. Like, oh my God, you're Kermit the Frog. Because it's one thing when they're sitting and like on a stand and they're kind of lifeless. You're like, that's all it is. They're so simple. It's such a simple design, most of them. But when a person is, a puppeteer is holding it, and you hear Kermit, even if it's not Jim Henson, you have such a childhood attachment to Kermit the Frog. And he said, I was like, Kermit the Frog. He just said my name. My brain couldn't take it. I lost it. I couldn't even answer any questions. It was terrible. It was never used. We did another one with the rest of the band, and Pepe the Shrimp, which is, I guess, a new character, was just hysterical. I really thought that the new take on the Muppet Show, which was like the Muppet Show meets The Office, that came out about three years ago, was pretty amazing.
It was wonderful.
You remember that?
Yeah, I got
It
sick
was
one week, and it was
why
and
isn't
I
it
watched
on again?
That was an ABC thing, right? Oh, they got to bring that back.
You're frozen.
Oh, am I back? Am I moving around? How's this?
We froze.
Oh no. Oh no, now you're frozen now, Brian. Oh my goodness. Is this a sign? Final question, since we've been talking for a while, and we could talk forever. Yeah. I think we're friends now.
Absolutely.
You played we talked about the Minnesota State Fair to start off. I think you played that in 2016. Is there a memory from that experience? We were very proud of our state fair. We're hoping you got some food or some rides out of it.
Woo. Minnesota State Fair.
Oh, did you freeze again? Oh.
No. You know, we do a lot of these things, and and that's the one problem. I don't know where it probably was on our schedule. Sometimes we fly privately to these things, and when you do that, you're so isolated, where you fly into this airstrip somewhere, get shuttled straight to the venue. We're very regimented that way. It's almost like a military operation. We have our little routines we do, and then we go on stage, and sometimes we shuttle right back and fly home that same night.
My goodness.
So it's, I probably didn't see any of it as far as like, other than, you know, the actual, I know that I do miss, you know, some of the older times of getting to, like, you know, experience these things. Hi, you want to try that out?
No, I'm going to connect it first.
I'm getting air conditioning installed in my house.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I'll let you tend to that, Brian. Thank you so much for the time. Next time you're in town for the state fair, we're going to get you some cookies. We'll get you all the food you can desire, and you'll have a great time, and you'll remember.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I do remember the Minnesota State Fair. It's not the first time we've played it, correct?
I think you've done it twice. That was the first time I saw you guys there, though.
Okay. Yes. I remember more the first time. Because I think it was like when we weren't flying privately there, and I actually got to enjoy it. Yeah, it was great. The Minnesota State Fair is great.
Wonderful. Brian, we'll see you for the third time then, eventually, sometime. Okay. Have a great day. Have fun with the air conditioning, and we'll see you at the Hella Mega Tour whenever that happens, all right?
Yeah, it's going to happen. I'll see you. Bye.
Thanks, dude.
Bye.